Happy Juneteenth, everybody. Today we commemorate the 155th anniversary of the end of slavery, or as Democrats call it, shit loss and property. Anyway, why does the Democratic Party no longer need the Klan? Okay, now, the Ku Klux Klan was founded in 1868, I think, by Confederate veterans who were all, prior to renouncing their citizenship to the United States, were registered Democrats. Now, 2 years later, the Republican Party, not Congress, Republican Party, ratified the 14th and 15th Amendments. The 13th had been ratified in 1865. These two ratified in 1870 by President Grant. And every Democrat voted against them, obviously. Well, 23% of Democrats voted for the 13th Amendment in 1865. And they were Union Democrats because the country was so divided. And now 1870, the states being readmitted, Southern Democrats are coming in, back to Congress, and 100% vote against 14th Amendment and 15th Amendment. Okay, now, the Democratic Party hired the Ku Klux Klan to serve what we would call today their terrorist wing, where if the Democratic Party did not get what they wanted, either in the federal house or the state houses, the Ku Klux Klan would be sent out to do whatever. Lynchings, beatings, whippings, beheadings, castration, shooting, assassination, bombing, and any means necessary. And most of the victims of the Klan were white, because the Klan would go to a schoolhouse, and there would be a school teacher there that would be teaching the blacks to read, which we would call today adult continuing education. The Klan would lynch the white school teacher to send the message that you will not do this. And in fact, every single act of violence the Klan ever committed in all history was sanctioned by the Democratic Party. Up until the 1940s, a Democrat could not get elected in a southern state, at least a southern state, not some northern states, unless they attended at least one Klan rally. Damn near every Democrat in the South from like 1870 to the 1950s at least had the sanctioning of the Klan or attended a Klan rally. That was it. The Klan and the Democrats were intertwined. The Klan would come to the Democratic National Convention. There's photographs of the Klan parading at the DNC. Low battery, sorry. Had to click off. Now, Margaret Sanger, who was a eugenist. Now, keep in mind, this is an era when people had 10 and 12 kids, because not every kid bought a new car at 16, and not every kid went to college, so you had a lot of kids because some kids didn't survive childhood. Also, more kids is more workers for the farm or family business. And Margaret Sanger would push birth control on the black neighborhoods, because if the blacks have 3 or 4 kids a generation and the whites have 10 and 12 kids a generation, the blacks will remain a minority. And Margaret Sanger believed that blacks, Jews, soldiers, she didn't like the military at all, were human weeds. In fact, if you go on YouTube, there's a video of Margaret Sanger being interviewed by Chris Wallace's father, Mike Wallace. And he's smoking Philip Morris cigarettes and talking about how manly Philip Morris cigarettes are, because they're the sponsor, obviously. And he's talking to this woman. And this is in the 1950s. Now, if you look from the early 20s into the 50s, Margaret Sanger was the first Hitler. You could literally take a Hitler speech and a Sanger speech and replace Jew with black and you wouldn't notice it. In fact, some of her speeches were actually more radicalized than Hitler's. Okay, she believed in squashing out the black race. In fact, some Nazis believed that the best way to deal with the Jews was to castrate them or sterilize them somehow chemically, and the Jews cannot reproduce. Well, Margaret Sanger sort of had that idea herself over here. Push birth control into the black neighborhoods, let the whites flourish, let the blacks die out. Now, her organization, Planned Parenthood has today exploited the Roe v. Wade decision to become the premier abortion clinic in the world. Okay, and Planned Parenthood is intertwined with the Democratic Party. Planned Parenthood gets money from the Democratic Party. Planned Parenthood gives money to the Democratic Party. Okay, Planned Parenthood gets taxpayer funding because of Democratic lawmakers. And you cannot, and it's, you look at any Democrat in any House of any Congress. Look at the Democrats in Congress, and look at Democrats in some state houses. Okay, most state houses, I should say. Okay, they want abortion to the max. They want 9-month abortion. Okay, they want sex-lift abortion. Okay, abort Down syndrome babies. Abort babies with autism. Okay, abort all the babies. Okay, abort them all. Okay, have taxpayer-funded abortion clinics, abortion health care, reproductive justice. Okay, Planned Parenthood, although it kills a lot of white babies, Planned Parenthood and abortion as a whole has exterminated 1/3 of the black race since 1972, when Roe v. Wade was decided. Margaret Sanger had been in her grave already by that time, but her plan was in motion. This was a woman who, now Hitler's problem was Hitler wanted to go too fast, okay? Hitler wanted to kill all the Jews fast. And others like gays, stuff like that, disabled people. Okay, he was a fucking, Hitler had a lot of enemies he wanted exterminated, okay? Jews are the most commonly known, but also blacks, gays, gypsies, anybody. Hitler wanted a lot of people exterminated. Which is a joke because Hitler was quarter Jew probably. Anyway, so that's Hitler's thinking. Margaret Sanger's thinking was long term. Go slow. Drag it out. Do it on the low. If you have an entire camp where you bring all pregnant women and abort their babies, that'll be known real fast. But if you have clinics, if you go slow, remember the Jews were living people. They had to be forced onto trains after gun confiscation. The babies in the womb, even though they are living people, they're living inside the womb. They cannot talk. They cannot express themselves. Okay? So living inside the womb, you are helpless. So, if you just brainwash the shit out of the mothers and other people around them and coerce them, that's where the abortion comes in. And the black race is being aborted at a faster rate than the white race. That's the way it is. Because they're forcing, look in New York City, more black babies are aborted than born. If you look at the Democratic Party as a whole, Chicago, Detroit, okay, Baltimore, there are cities in this country that have been entirely controlled by Democrats for no less than 50 years. The record is 1872. And if you go to all these Democrat machines, okay, where every single politician is a fanatical left-wing Democrat, ultra left-wing Democrat, the blacks are suffering the most. Black inner city, okay, poverty, unemployment, okay, even if the congressman and the mayor are black, okay. Look at L.A., Maxine Waters district, okay. She's a millionaire who lives in a mansion outside the district. Black people in her district, poor, unemployed, okay. That is what it is. If you look at the inner city black people, they are suffering at a much higher rate than inner city white people. Much higher rate. Failed schools, 70% of black babies are either A, born to a single family household, or B, born out of wedlock, one or the other, or one or the other. Okay. Very few have father figures. Then if you look at blacks that make it in the world, Justice Thomas, Dr. Carson, Herman Cain, any black person who thinks for themselves, who does for themselves, who has a different mentality, okay, who strives to be better, who moves out of the ghetto, who opens a small business, they are called Uncle Tom, Sambo. In other words, I'm not going to repeat here. Herman Cain was literally called Sambo on national television. Then they have the disgruntled workers. You have Justice Thomas, disgruntled employee, accuses him of that, okay, and he's lynched in the media. Herman Cain is leading in the polls for the Republican primary. Woman comes out of nowhere and he grabbed her 15 years ago. No one's seen her since, okay? He was pushed out of the race, that's fine. Now, look today. Uncle Ben, Aunt Jemima, black icons, okay? Mary Green, who is the woman behind Aunt Jemima, okay? She was born a slave, as a cook, slave. Like most slaves, when she was delivered from bondage, she went into that as a profession. A lot of slaves had a profession: farmer, cook, maid, butler, and they would go into their profession for salary after slavery. This woman, in an era when white men, educated white men, didn't make $5,000 a year. In an era where the movie stars would make a movie, get a paycheck, and that's it. No $20 million deals back then. I mean, none of that shit back then. Period. Okay? Sorry, allergies. In an era when white men made nothing, this black woman born a slave died a millionaire in 1923. Okay? The Quaker company that owns Aunt Jemima, she posed for their character. Okay? She was their model for Aunt Jemima. They gave her a very, very, very healthy sum of money for her character. And she died very, very wealthy. She was a millionaire. A millionaire in the 20s. How much was $1 million back then? Okay, in an era when a white guy with education makes $5,000 a year at most, how much is $1 million back then? And she died in an era where black women could vote. Dr. Mary Walker had been dead. Susan B. Anthony had been dead by the time 1920 rolled around. She's dead in 1923. She dies in an era where black women can vote. So she went from slave to millionaire. Okay? That's the American dream. Being born a slave, being delivered from bondage, and making 100 times as much money as a white man in a segregated era. And Aunt Jemima is a positive role model for them. You also got Lane Lace Butter, okay, your Uncle Ben, and the Democratic Party and this far left ideology do not want a black person on the cover of the pancake box and the syrup bottle, because they don't want black people today, especially young black people, to say, hey, look at that, that's a role model for me. Hey, look at that, look, someone like me is on the cover of the fucking syrup bottle or the pancake batter. Okay, someone that looks like me can do this, and maybe they'll look it up. Maybe they'll look up on Wikipedia now and see who she was. Okay, she was born a slave, died a millionaire. Okay, black women can vote in 1923, and she died. That's a pretty good ending, isn't it? She had no student loans. She had no all this college scholarship bullshit. Okay, she had none of that. The government didn't give it to her. She made it on her own. And the Democratic Party and the far left-wing lunatics like BLM and Antifa, these other motherfuckers, okay, they do not want the black people to have any hope. That is why most of the race riots, look at the race riots. Most of the race riots over the George Floyd incident, most of them were in the black neighborhoods, black stores, black homes, okay, black businesses destroyed. Okay, 15-minute timer.